More than 2 million people in England may have had long COVID. New research from the REACT-2 study shows that more than a third of people who had COVID reported symptoms lasting for at least 12 weeks. Right now, little is understood about the condition, and health authorities are working to assess the long-term impact on public health.
There was a time when it was quite dark mentally and emotionally, because you just think you're not going to get back to anything like a normality.
For gymnastics teacher Debbie, long COVID has changed her life.
I'm down to 50% maximum of my working hours, less quarter of my teaching hours. My brain fog, I will forget, I'll forget I've taken drugs. More than once I've retaken them and then realised what I've done. I will forget names, I will forget I've read a book. General fatigue, if you overdo it, it all gets worse.
Debbie's experience echoes hundreds of thousands of others with long COVID who've taken part in a major new study.
The research looked at more than 500,000 people between September 2020 and February this year. It found around a third who had tested positive for COVID-19 reported persistent symptoms lasting at least 12 weeks. The research also found long COVID is more prevalent in women, those overweight or obese, and those who live in deprived areas.
Some of the issues may be people who had pre-existing conditions may have been more likely to get persistent symptoms. There are also some suggestions that women in general were less likely to get very severe initial COVID, but more likely to get more persistent symptoms.
The government has now put forward £50 million for more research into the long-term impact of COVID-19. One of the problems with long COVID, more than a year on since the start of the pandemic, is that we still don't know much about it. But what this study does show is just how widespread it is, and also how we may have to adapt certain aspects of our lives in order to live with and accommodate the symptoms. Those in business say companies will have to change.
Companies fail to take account of long COVID in the symptoms. The immediacy of that will be actually the loss of their precious resource, which is their people. So they could actually face a claim for disability discrimination at an employment tribunal, which clearly can attract a fine and compensation.
For Debbie, getting back to full strength may never happen.
There's more of a gentle acceptance that this could be my life. That's not being negative. I think the fact is probably no, I won't come back to what I was before COVID.
That's hard to accept.
Very, very.
Dan Whitehead, Sky News.